Well, hello, everybody. Tom Galucci here from the Mortgage Collaborative and want to welcome you to the inaugural episode of TMC Tech Talk, one of really TMC's new slate of recurring programming on the TMC Connect platform. For Tech Talk in particular, we're going to be coming to you live every other Thursday, and I'm going to be joined by a special guest in mortgage technology to talk about current events, new innovations, consumer experience, and spotlighting our guests' direct contributions towards pushing forward innovation in the mortgage industry. I've got a great special guest today and give you a fun factoid. Ironically, the first episode premieres on the 21st day of the 21st year of the 21st century. So wanted to leave you something, a little fun factoid at the onset so you could say you learned something from today's broadcast. But self-deprecation aside, really thank you for listening in. And while this is an interview format, certainly any comments or suggestions on future discussion topics or industry leaders driving mortgage tech you'd like to hear from on future episodes, go ahead and drop those in the chat for those joining us live on the Zoom broadcast, or you could reach out to me or anybody directly at the TMC team. Is the goal of Tech Talk here is really to provide you valuable insights for taking the time out of your day to listen in. So please do not be shy as the programming is going to continue to evolve. On that note, I want to welcome in today's special guest, good friend of mine and a brave soul, Vice President with Ignite Integration Solutions, Brad Ketcher. Brad, first, welcome and thank you for being my first co-host.
Thank you very much. I'm honored and humbled to be your first guest. So thank you very much.
Well, let's jump right in. Welcome to the hot seat. So I guess, first off, to help kind of frame up your expertise in mortgage innovation, Brad, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and the path to your current role at Ignite, since most of us did not in our youth strive to be in the mortgage industry. And yet, here we are.
I will say that's a good point. I'm curious to know how many people actually kind of dreamt about joining the mortgage world, right? I always wanted to be an engineer when I was in high school, and then went to college and realized that it wasn't what I had expected. So then I moved to finance, and oddly enough, I'll say that I learned. I kind of got into the mortgage world at my wedding. I met somebody who's in the mortgage world, and the guy said, just interview for the job here in capital markets. And I knew finance really well. I worked on Wall Street for 6 years, and then from that perspective, I jumped right in. And I feel like the greatest part about the mortgage arena is that if you give it enough respect, it rewards you. And I will say most of the people that I speak to, me included, that we've worn multiple hats throughout our career. Yeah, my career started in capital markets. I know the landscape, the environment incredibly well, and it's been great and able to translate my experience and my knowledge into what I do here at Ignite.
Yeah, I mean, we joked in the onset of this broadcast, I think you threw out like 20% as far as people actually saw themselves being in the mortgage industry. And I would say very friendly estimate there at that. But, I know capital markets clearly not the only role you've done within the mortgage industry. So, give us a little more background there.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. It started off with capital markets, and I said beforehand, I started in Wall Street, so I still had that bug and wanted to go back onto Wall Street. So I interviewed, and the feedback was that I needed to either know about due diligence or know more about the loan. So then I transitioned. I became a loan officer, and I was a loan officer for 2 years. And I will say that gave me a great fire in my belly to be successful. And from that, so springboarded, worked at Bear Stearns for a couple of years, then worked at a mortgage banker. And so I was correspondent sales, then I was head of sales at a mortgage banker, then moved to head of processing, then back to head of capital markets, which is my passion. And then worked at an asset management company, starting it up with somebody that I worked with at Bear Stearns, and developed it to $1 billion mortgage portfolio, overseeing 4 different sub-servicers and loss mitigation. And then, multiple times throughout my career, you could see that technology was just creeping up, taking over. And I always try to be one step ahead of my, like somebody else's plan for my destiny. I'd rather be in control. So that's when I knew the owners of Ignite, reached out to them. They had a great position for me. So I was originally head of project management, and then on the enterprise level, and then now I'm head of business development. So from all of my experience from sales, processing, correspondent sales, capital markets, loss mitigation. So now I'm bringing that experience and helping people with finding technical solutions and automation and speaking the same language and trying to problem solve.
I mean, you've essentially worn pretty much every hat in the manufacturing process of a loan, so makes you a very lethal asset to the team at Ignite.
That's right.
I love the backstory. I want to pivot as we kind of dive into the discussion here. Around current innovations driving mortgage tech. So, let's level set a bit here. Brad, take me down a trip down memory lane. Let's go all the way back to 2018, which now seems like ages ago when the world still made sense. And give me your rundown, maybe through these past couple of years, of kind of the biggest themes driving mortgage tech and how it relates to what we've got in store for 2021.
Sure. I agree with you. It feels like forever ago. And that was, well, last year felt like 3 years. So anything past last year, it's like there's a multiplier. So for everybody on this call, so Ignite focuses on mortgage technology and integrations. And I'm sorry to not set that up beforehand. So I've really been attuned to tactical innovation within the mortgage industry for the last 4 years, especially. And so just picking a starting point, 2018, I felt like the greatest innovation was really more business intelligence. So at that point, if for those that were in the industry, remember that rates started creeping up, production revenue went down. So managers really want to know where some key metrics were going on, KPIs, we kept hearing about that, and trying to hear about durations, who's doing a better job versus a not so better job. Unfortunately, there was a couple of rounds of layoffs during that year. So people want to have a little bit more substance to their actions, number one. And then the other part is in terms of pricing. So beforehand, you had Motivity, Microsoft Power BI, and Tableau, and they were pretty much at around 60,000 per year. Domo was at 80,000. So it was like almost too expensive for a normal company to have BI. And then Microsoft Power BI came out with their $10 per user per month plan, and that was like groundbreaking. So that is what really helped drive a lot of people into business intelligence. And then also that little bit of a footnote for artificial intelligence. The only way for AI to work is to have several years worth of data to look back upon to be able to figure out how to make AI work. And that little, that little charm made people want BI just to start aggregating data. So that's 2018. Sorry for speaking too much about that one year. 2019, I think point of sale was a big theme. A lot of people want to compete with Quicken Loans, and at the same time, you had a lot of different POS engines out there. That's really helped out the user experience. That's also reduced timelines from, I think it was 47 days 3 years ago to now about 37 on average from beginning to close. And then last year, started off with just automation, people just saying how to speed up the workflow, how do I integrate my POS with my LOS? And then after a while, it just became, how do I manage the onslaught of this business? And I feel like this year is just a continuation. Once again, that 3 years has morphed into this year, where it's just January just started off with a frenzy. For all of us, hopefully it continues. But it's just about automation. How about the LOS user, maybe you don't have to touch 100% of the loan files and just kind of manage the outliers. And that's what people are really searching for.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great point. Like, we're heading into a marketplace that's likely to be more competitive than ever, since you've got a lending industry that's coming off a year of record-setting volume, and everybody's expecting to do that same level of volume, if not try to exceed it in 21. And unfortunately, the reality is not everybody's going to win in that marketplace. So, I think we've seen a lot too, just, the enhanced interest around, being able to enhance, speed up the manufacturing process, leverage automation and different emerging technology tools. to stay as competitive as possible and really continue to decrease those cycle times, which I'm sure are more on the purchase side, where I don't think we saw that on the refi side, the back half of 2020, more so by design.
Mhm.
But let's, on that same topic, let's kind of talk through what kind of automation is going to take center stage, maybe for the industry, but as well as for Ignite in 21.
But you brought up a great point that especially on the younger generation, they're very tech savvy. And if they have a bad experience, they're going to publish that immediately. So right now, lenders are just trying to appease the younger generation and or the tech savvy, I'll say, because I could span any generation. And so what I feel is that looking at the innovation that we're going to see right now. So Ignite, we focus really on the Encompass LOS. Depending on what you read, it seems like Encompass has garnered about 70% of the lending marketplace. If you look at companies, not necessarily loans closed, but at companies using the LOS. So for us, we've had our auto roll assignment application out for a number of years. We continually refine our applications. And I look at this as looking at repetitive processes. How could you, and that's what companies are doing, and saying what repetitive processes can just be avoided. Once again, does everybody have to do every single action within the loan? And the answer is no. So you look at the managers of the divisions, the head of processing, the head of underwriting, the head of closing, they're going to be definitely the most compensated within the group, and they should be the most talented. So why are they spending a third of their time per day just assigning files? When if you have two underwriters that are VA underwriters, then it's pretty intuitive that you should just go disseminate the VA loans to those two people. If one is better than the other, then we have ways of sending it like a weighted round robin. So you could send two to this person, one to that person. And we can just literally, most of the dissemination like logic can be coded. So for us, we can help out disseminate loans for processing, underwriting, closing, and every single role, including branch managers within Encompass. So I feel like just removing the repetitive process. Also,
Quick,
I'm sorry.
yeah, just not to cut you off there, but you're so spot on. If we think about what we saw in 2022 and just the enhanced cost and salary for, your operation staff or your underwriters, your processors, even loan setup folks, I got to imagine it only increases the demand from a lender standpoint of trying to find these repetitive tasks and technology-based solutions that can help automate that. um, as there's going to be a great opportunity to look to cut down on the cost of a loan, especially when we get into a purchase-centric market where it's going to be more competitive than ever.
So to that point, I just spoke to two companies this week saying that in their state, the minimum wage is creeping up. I'm in New York, and we went from $8 and change to $15 within only a few years. And after a while, it just becomes, it really just eats into the profit margin. But that's on one side. The other part is that you want scalability, and you want something that's a little bit scalable, not only in the upside, but also on the downside. So you want to, sometimes you could have automation that once you pay for it, well, one, you look for the return on investment. And that's something I'm a huge advocate. Look for the break even, look for the return on investment. If it's not a right fit, it's not a right fit. And that's something I could, on a personal level, I could absolutely guide you with. And that's something that I always go through the numbers. I care about user adoption. Yes, of course, SOWs are important, but I care about our lasting relationship, just not a one-time relationship. So anyways, so from us perspective, I'll say that I find that automation, reduction of repetitive processes, and converting people to be data managers, not data gatherers, and meaning look at pipeline views. What needs to be done? What are the outliers that need the attention? Like MERS registration, they have an API that, for us, we could automatically just put sign up a loan for MERS registration. And if there's one or two failures, that's because the data is bad data that just needs to be corrected. So people should just manage those one or two loans as compared to the all 100. For us, again, getting into the themes of this year, I would say that selling to the agencies is huge. The investors are not passing along the SRP like they were beforehand, so they're kind of taking a lot of profit for themselves. At the same time, people are worried about EPDs. If the borrower is just asking for forbearance within 2-3 months, then it could be a loan buyback, which is dangerous. So people are selling to the GSEs more, which gets into, I'm fielding phone calls weekly about doing sub-servicing loan boarding on an automated basis, which is something we could provide. So we could, how about Devonmule, a TMC vendor partner? I'd say half of our business is with Devonmule. We do a lot with Senlar, we do a lot with Loan Care and the other sub-servicers, and that's something we have it down to a science, where we can automatically identify the loan, pick it up, and then transmit, go through the translations, equations, formatting, and have a perfect extract. And I remember speaking to a TMC lender at a conference, which again, I love the TMC because everything's just so out in the open. The collaboration is outrageous, great organization. And I remember this person just spoke loudly, and it's amazing that he was able to say it. He was like, look, every Thursday we have the manager of shipping creates their data extract, which means that every Thursday they are just shut down and working on this. And so if it's 1 day a week, you're talking about 20% of their productivity is just working on a spreadsheet and then sending the documents. And that's a flawed system. So technology could do that automatically behind the scenes. And now that person can start reading reports from their sub-servicer to figure out which loans are good, which loans are bad, which ones need help, getting more involved on deferments, modifications, and doing the more productive work is what I would say.
All joking aside, it might have to go up on your tomb one day. I've done enough of these broadcasts with you. The quotes of being a data, what was it, data manager and not a data gatherer.
Yes, I love it.
Yep.
My favorite. My favorite. So I saw. Yeah, I have to give credit. I have to give credit. Dan Gilbert, like owner founder of Quicken. I saw him at a speech at at a tech conference, and he started talking about it, and I think it was kind of like one of those flippant phrases that he was saying, but I really latched onto it, and it makes sense. People don't have to do 100% of the process. It's Encompass has like 5 different fields for borrower name and subject property type, and it's like let either business rules or technology start filling in the gaps, and let the humans, the users, start doing the more challenging stuff, or branch on to, now once you get residential mortgages locked down, maybe go into consumer loans. Like, people tend to be a little bit timid of technology automation, but no, if you grab onto it and actually treat it with the respect that it needs, you might open yourself up to doing more work and more productivity. And that's really the emphasis and the goal of what you can be doing.
So true. I couldn't say it better myself, and really thinking creatively about how you're leveraging the bandwidth of your team in the most effective way possible. Totally true.
Exactly.
Reminder for everybody, this is TMC Tech Talk. I'm Tom Galucci here with today's special guest, Brad Ketcher with Ignite Integration Solutions. Quick friendly reminder, any questions, comments that you have on the broadcast or for Brad, feel free to drop them in the chat. And if we've got time at the end, I'll look to cover those. But another topic I want to touch base with you on. So speaking back on kind of some buzzwords within the industry, we hear a ton about AI and machine learning. And honestly, many still struggle to make sense out of what does it mean to me in the mortgage industry, as seemingly these buzzwords are tied to really every tech solution development that I'm hearing nowadays in mortgage. So I'd love your quick take.
I, I'm hesitant that you brought it up, but at the same time, like, I was just going to say my opinion. Artificial intelligence it's very new. It's incredibly expensive, and it's really only the behemoths of companies and countries are spending their money into it. So artificial intelligence is basically a computer algorithm, program, whatnot, that is guessing your next action. So basically, in essence, think of think of like Alexa, that when you walk through the door, it hears your footsteps and it can tell if it's either you or your spouse, and it can read your heartbeat to say, all right, this is the type of music you want to listen to. Like, that's artificial intelligence of reading a situation and then filling in the gaps. There's nothing in the mortgage arena that I'm aware of that could fill in the gaps like that, where it knows what to do next. And then more machine learning, that's different, and that kind of exists, where machine learning is kind of like guessing habits and then trying to fill it in. Case in point is Gmail. When you're starting to type out a Gmail, where it's like, how is your, and then all of a sudden you see in like gray, day, and it starts filling in, or I want to send you, and it's reading the header of the email, like I'm trying to send you this, and then it fills in contract or something like that. That to me is machine learning, which is super, super cool. You see very, very little of true machine learning because the system is looking at what are some of the most popular responses. So translating that into the mortgage world, that you might lend in 40 states, of which New York is your top state, Colorado is your second state. And then when you start filling out an application, it defaults to NY because that is the most popular state. And then when you type in the letter C, instead of going to CA, which is the first on the alphabet, of course, it just jumps immediately to Colorado. So that's machine learning to say that, hey, these are some of the most popular choices, so let me display them first. And that will save a little bit of time. Now, when you type in C, you don't have to go through that drop-down menu. It just automatically does that. A second here, a second there, before you know it, it starts bounding up and becoming meaningful. And I'm just using a small example, but they might show documents or this or that could be popularly used and that in itself. So that's machine learning. So yes, definitely a sore point of mine is that almost everything out there is programmed, which it's okay, own it. So you have a developer that's creating programs that need to be tweaked here and there. It is what it is. But unfortunately, a lot of salespeople are just overusing AI and machine learning. I would just, personally, if I was in the room, I would just say, how is it AI and how is it machine learning? Because really, in the end, it's just programmed. And which, again, that's fine. On the Ignite side, I'll say we program a lot of stuff, but when we program it, we make it scalable. And on top of that, we try our hardest to have a user interface. So this way, it's the Encompass admin that can add to the logic in a very easy, intuitive manner. So this way, it grows with the company. So if you never did VA loans beforehand, and now you are, instead of saying, hey, Ignite, I need to recruit you, this or that, now the Encompass admin is capable to include VA, USDA, whatever the programs are into the methodology. So on one hand, anyways, that's a little bit of an interesting topic to raise. I would just say, when somebody starts saying machine learning and AI, just ask the question, how is it? And chances are they'll have a tough time answering.
No, I appreciate the insights, the explanation. It helps kind of simplify the process for those like myself that are not as educated as we'd like to be.
It'll be here soon. I look forward to it, but it's not.
So let me ask you to pull out your hypothetical crystal ball here and give us some thoughts and predictions on some innovations that are currently out there in the tech space, but maybe flying under the radar that are probably more likely to gain mass adoption this coming year.
Let's see. Excuse me. So I'll say very, very popular over the last 6 months. So Ignite created purchase advice automation, I'd say about 3.5 years ago. And we rounded it out probably 2 years ago, where we paid for licensing for OCR, like data scraping. So we can automatically, we could automatically read Excel, XML, PDFs, and automatically take care of the purchase advice, like purchase advice automation. So that's something where you'll see a quick, and depending on your company size, so you could see the return on investment like incredibly fast. So that's one thing that it's out there. Sure, I'd love to engage and have a conversation with the people on this call if that's something you're interested in. So that's out there. That's not the future, that's here today. Condition automation. So Ignite's had this for 3 years or so as well, where so we can literally read. So again, this is coding. So we could literally read a file. But by the way, this is through the input form builder, so it's not like an application on the server. This is very easy to put into your Encompass environment. So we can say if this person's self-employed, excuse me, or if borrower one or co-borrower is self-employed, then you need these conditions with these document placeholders will immediately be in the E folder. So that is, and that could be automatic upon save. So whether or not it's a brand new prospect loan, or you want those conditions to only be applied at submission or any type of entry point, we can interrogate the loan file and automatically assign those specific conditions that pertain to that specific loan. Versus, Ellie Mae has an automated condition manager where It's basically, it's just an enhanced condition set where it's interrogating the loan and then still requires the user to decipher, to click, to apply the conditions. So for us, we stand for as few clicks as possible, as much automation as possible. So those are two things that currently exist that might not be known, but I'll say what I expect for this year, wholesale, let's be honest, wholesale went from like 5% market share, 3 years ago, to about 25% share now, are the numbers that I'm hearing. The complication with wholesale is that they are sending documents with whatever name they want. I mean, it could be scan 123 for all you know, and then it's up to the lender to decipher what are these documents. They might get a single document, which we call a blob or a stack document, which is just one PDF with 100 documents tied to it, and they want to separate it. You need standardized names for technology to work. It's helpful to have standardization of naming of documents. So this way the processor underwriter know what to look for, where to look for it, versus wasting their time and separating documents. So anyways, long story short, Ignite has paired up with a vendor. We can help out with wholesale, where when a single document comes in, we could work with this vendor and we could break it apart into its respective documents. We could come up with standardized naming, and the future is, which we're working on later this year, is the vendor's able to pull data off those documents, and we're working with the UI to help user interface, to bring in the data into the Encompass loan file. So it's like that to me that's this year that I'm looking forward to working on. And we've been working on that for quite some time.
Awesome. Oh, appreciate it, Brad. And reminder for our attendees, this is TMC Tech Talk. Tom Galucci here, Brad Ketcher, Ignite Integration Solutions, my special guest today. Brad, we spent some quality time on automation advances, really central to enhancing efficiency and speeding up the loan manufacturing process. I want to quickly talk about the other side of the coin as it relates to consumer preferences and just the overall user experience, because I think it's so central to keeping really, mortgage lenders, I think of the collaboratives mortgage lenders, highly competitive versus, say the Quickens of the world, especially in a remote environment where we're more dependent than ever on technology and our devices. So, maybe quickly, if you can give me your take on where the industry is primed to evolve in 21 on the consumer side.
Well, clearly it's about the point of sale, right? The POS. My opinion, they're two main POS engines at this moment, Simple Nexus and Blend. And you can see that they're doing a lot of capital raises, not hearing so much from the other POSs, but they're still fighting for their market share. But I do believe that the point of sale engine has really helped out in terms of bringing communication to the borrower. Look, everybody was so incredibly busy last year, so it might have taken the processor 3 to 5 days just to call back the borrower to ask for documents after the loan's been conditionally underwritten, versus the point of sale would alert that borrower right then and there, hey, your loan's been conditionally approved, you need to provide us these 12 documents. So I'm a big advocate. I think that any type of point of sale engine is a big uptick probably for your lending division. So that's going to help out the consumer preferences. The other part is that vendors are just getting sharper, they're getting better. And so at some point, the loan origination system has to say, look, we can help out within this like framework. We could be the best, but at some point, the lender is going to need to outsource certain features, and what the lender has to make sure is that the back end matches the front end. And what I mean by that is that if the point of sale is so perfect, so crisp, so great, and that the borrower is like, wow, I got, I don't know, pre-approved within 2 hours, this is great, but then it takes 15 days to close a loan, then the borrower is going to get pretty upset. So you need to make sure that the fulfillment side, the back end, is going to match the front. And then also in terms of experiences evolving this year, you have amazing technologies that are coming about. Partners Credit, which I'm such a fan of. I mean, they're taking kind of like a generic product and they're trying to make it unique and better. And I know that they're looking at how can we take credit and how can we take maybe like AVM, so this way when the loan officer is pulling the credit, they also have like an idea and assessment of what that the value of that home is, because right now I feel like, in my opinion, the last 6 months, it's uncharted territory of what the home values are. And it's nice to have the technology out there now, because when this COVID craze is finished with like bidding wars and this and that, you're going to start wondering what is the true value of that house. And I really like what Partners Credit is doing, where they're saying, here's the credit report and here's an AVM. So this way I'm going to give you as much ammunition to make the right decision and give the right fiduciary guidance to the borrower before you start moving forward. I think that's awesome. You also hear about like Rigora and Dart appraisals, how they have their technology and that they're trying to change the landscape as well. So I just feel like it's also the year of the vendors, where the vendors are coming out with great products. And you know, I'll just say that Ignite tries to help out where we could monitor Encompass, and when there's a field trigger or whatever it is, then we could automatically push the data to the vendor and then automatically pull the data back into the Encompass. So this way we keep Encompass as a system of record.
Awesome. Well, you've definitely humored me, and we've kind of pontificated plenty on where tech innovation is going to drive the mortgage industry this year. You know, and we've gotten a chance to hear about some of what you're working on at Ignite as well. But I want to give you the opportunity, you know, maybe whet the collective beak of our audience on anything we haven't touched on that's coming down the line from Ignite in 21.
Well, I'll say that I'm easy to reach out to. So if you see me, my name's Brad Ketcher. You can find me on LinkedIn, and that has my contact information. And otherwise, you could go through Ignite's website, igniteintegrationsolutions.com. So yes, we focus on Encompass. We also focus on other LOSs as well, and just all around computer technology. But we are here to try to remove the clicks and make the most efficient processes as possible in terms of Encompass. So we're helping out with HUD for like case binder delivery, upfront MIP, like data extracts that are being sent to HUD. So this way, it's just, again, just efficiencies of less hours that are necessary. You have alhamdulillahs. So let's think of last year. I mean, there's like, for every good, there's like, you know, it's the yin and the yang. For every good, there's a bad. So it was just such a stellar year last year, but now you have to start worrying about curating loans and making sure that the law reports are accurate, where on one hand, it might say single family development, and then all of a sudden you look at the like page 3 of the 1003, and that's showing a condo or something random. So you just have to make sure that things match. So we have ways to search within Encompass loan files, search for mismatches, and then actually batch update and correct it. So what can take somebody 2 weeks, we could probably reduce within 2 days. So whole lot of things. I would definitely recommend people reaching out. I could send you our catalog. I'm not pushy. I'm super easy. I'm just more information flow. And if you care, if you have a pen out, I'll give you my cell phone, 917-808-5203. And again, it's Brad Ketcher with Ignite Integration Solutions, and my cell is 917-808-5203. We're all in it together, trying to get ahead in life and at work. Any way I can help you out, just say the word. Thanks, Tom.
Awesome. So now everybody that you've got Brad's direct cell phone, be sure to send him spam texts. And...
yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks. I should have given the work number.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, guys, you know, quick programming note here. We're going to continue with Tech Talk as we get into February. We've got a special Groundhog Day edition with Social Surveys, new editions, Brittany Hodak and Kristen Messerly. And coming back to you 2 weeks from today at our normal time on Thursday, February the 4th, with Capacity CEO David Carandish. Excuse me for the puberty crack in the voice there.
You'll grow up one of these days, Tom.
Here. But you know, to our listeners, be on the lookout for podcasts and YouTube links for on-demand viewing. So please share those out with any folks in your organization that we get value from today's discussion. And you know, Brad, I want to thank you again for being first up to be my guest here and take a chance on TMC Tech Talk.
My honor. Thank you so very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Tom. And thank you to the TMC collaboration and to everybody that's attended. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Well, don't be shy to give Brad a holler, Ignite Integration Solutions. And until we broadcast again, if you're talking TMC, you're talking tech. Be well, my friends.
You too.